Hi, my name is Brian and I'm a teacher. I happen to be blind and I'm here making this video today to show you, to teach you, to demonstrate how to tie a tie. Those who are watching this video might be thinking, well, I'm young. I'm still a teenager. Why do I need to learn how to tie a tie? And that's a great question to ask. And the best answer is that you may not need one anytime soon, but down the road, there will be situations where you will need to wear a tie. For example, if you are applying for a job, you want to dress to impress. It leaves a great first impression. One of those ways you can impress is by coming prepared with a great wardrobe, and that includes a tie. You will likely need to wear one for weddings or funerals. That's sort of the custom or the norm to wear a nice suit and a tie. You may also want to wear a tie going out for a night on the town with a special someone, if you know what I mean. That will also leave a great first impression. So it is very important to learn how to tie a tie. I want you to do this with me as I go through it. And it's okay if you're frustrated as you're doing it. It's very difficult to learn how to tie a tie watching a video, but I do challenge you to try it. For the reason that this is on video, and there are many different tie knots, we're gonna focus on one called the 4-finger knot. It's a little bit more simple, but it is a tie knot that will work in many situations. So let's begin. I want you to take a tie, hopefully you have one in your hands. I want you to just explore it a little bit, feel it with both of your hands. You will notice that one side is smooth and the other side is not smooth. It has a seam where two pieces of material are sewn together. And my left hand right now is at the bottom of the wide part of the tie, and I'm moving my fingers up along the seam. And as I do that, I notice I come across two tags. Most ties just have one, mine happens to have two. The first tag I encounter is red, and it's called the branding tag or branding label, and it just says who made the tie. The tag above that we're going to refer to as the tie loop, and we're going to come back to that. We're going to need it near the end, so just remember tie loop. All right, so I want you to take the tie, put it behind your neck, make sure that the smooth part of the tie is facing out and the seam is laying or facing your body. All right, now just take the wide part of the tie in your left hand, the narrow part in your right hand, and just pull it back and forth, and you will feel the tie moving across the back of your neck. And on my body, and what I want you to make sure is that the wide part of the tie is hanging down your left side and the narrow part of the tie is hanging down your right side. Okay, now I want you to pull down the wide part of the tie just towards the floor, and you will notice that the narrow part is moving up towards your shoulder. And I want you to have the tip of the narrow side about 2 inches below your rib cage. This might be a place where you'll have to start over if the tie doesn't come out as well as you want it to, and that's okay, because even I, after wearing a tie for 15 years, still have to retie it sometimes because it doesn't come out quite right. All right, I'm going to take the narrow part of the tie, which I'm holding in my right hand, and I'm going to move it towards the left side of my body, and it's across my chest. I'm going to take the wide part of the tie in my left hand and cross it over towards the right side of my body. And where the two pieces overlap, I'm going to hold them with the fingers on my left hand. I'm holding it with my pointer and middle finger on the top and my thumb behind or below. And if you notice at this point, we have what is somewhat similar to a triangle, and we call that the neck triangle, so we're going to need that in just a minute. All right, I want you to take the wide part of the tie, which is now in your right hand, and I want you to bring it under towards your left elbow, and that space there between your left forearm and your left upper arm, that's where you're going to pull it through. And now it is hanging down over my index and my middle finger towards the floor. At this point, I'm now going to bring it back towards my chest and pull it through the neck triangle. Just kind of straighten it out a little bit, make sure it's smoother. And now it's hanging over my pointer, my middle fingers on my left hand and my thumb. I'm gonna hold the wide part with my right hand now, and I'm gonna lift it up a little bit. And where my fingers on my left hand are pinched together, I wanna separate them to make a chasm or a gap. And I'm gonna take the wide part of the tie and bring it through there. And you wanna be very careful bringing it through there. You can let go of the tie with your left hand where you were pinching them together. And you want to pull the wide part down towards the floor gently, just gently, and make sure it's straightened out a bit. Make sure the smooth side is facing outward, the seam is still against your body or facing your body. And you're just gonna tug it. I'm holding the narrow side in my left hand, I'm holding the wide side in my right hand, and I'm just pulling it down towards the floor. And if you reach up with your right hand, you will notice a knot. That's our 4-finger knot. And it's pretty snug right now. That's a good snugness that we want. We don't want it too tight. We don't want it loose either. All right, so I'm gripping, I'm holding onto the tie knot in my right hand. In the back, I'm holding the narrow part in my left hand. And I'm just gonna tug up the knot towards my throat. At this point, I wanna stop, button the top button on my shirt, move the tie knot towards my throat, and I'm going to fold down the collar so it's covering the back part of the tie, and I've got my tie knot. And you want to adjust it a little bit. You're going to pull it up towards your neck. You don't want to do it too much because then it's going to choke you. So just enough, and maybe have it try to cover the top button of your shirt. All right, so, oh no. If you notice, the narrow part of the tie is hanging below the wide part, and you can't have that. Even if we tuck it, like we're supposed to, into the tie loop in the back, that may help it a little bit, but it's still hanging down too low. So earlier, if you remember when I was starting to tie the tie, I said you may have to go back to that point and start over. This is exactly what I mean. So what we're gonna do really quickly is go back to the beginning where the wide part is hanging down the left side of my body and the narrow part is hanging down the right side of my body. We're gonna adjust where we had it in relation to our rib cage. If I can untie this, there we go. Okay, so on my left hand, I'm holding the wide part again. It's hanging down the left side of my body. The narrow part I'm holding in my right hand. I'm gonna pull it closer to my rib cage and see if that helps. So I'm gonna quickly go through this again. Starting over. Straightening it out as I go along, making sure everything's facing the right way. Moving it up towards my collar, folding the collar down again, adjusting the knot so it covers the top button in my shirt. Now I'm going to tuck the narrow part in the tie loop, and voila! Now it doesn't hang below the wide part like it did earlier. Now the tip of the wide part of your tie, by the way, once you've tied it, could be just above your belt buckle, or it could cover your belt buckle. Anything like that is okay. You don't want it hanging down too low because then it looks too funny. So I hope you got something out of this video, and if you can, watch it again. Try tying your tie a few times. And I also encourage you to look at other tutorials, other videos on YouTube. There are many out there. Some that demonstrate tying the 4-finger knot like I just did. Others that show you how to tie other tie knots like the Windsor, which is one of the most common or popular ones. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. And always remember too that it is a process, and frustration is always or often part of that process. So if you get frustrated, you want to give up, you didn't like how it came out, just try again. And with the more practice, the better you'll get. And eventually you will be a tying expert. Thank you for joining me.